Australia in the 1920s, a thriving country doing its best to move on from the devastation of a world war that stripped away a generation of the nation's finest young men. But progress brings change, and change creates opportunities. Opportunities which people with a fluid approach to the law are happy to exploit. Light can only exist where there is dark. Back then, Sydney had its dark side. Drugs, extortion, gang warfare, murder. The police had never been busier. The courts had never been fuller. The tabloids had never been happier. Anyone who says crime doesn't pay never worked for a newspaper. 8 a.m. Every day like clockwork. 25 years in the same job would do that to you. People sometimes ask me if I wasn't a crime reporter, what would I do? I say, easy, I'd be a sports reporter. Hey, I am what I am. But think about it. Crime, sport. Good guys, bad guys. Black, white. That's been making headlines since Noah was in nappies. There's only one thing that fills up more column space than good versus evil. And that's evil versus evil. And if you look up evil in the dictionary, you'll find these two. In one corner, Joseph Theodore Leslie Taylor, aka Squizzy, because he had a wonky eyelid. In the other corner, John Cutmore, aka Snowy, because, well, every crim worth his salt needs a nickname, right? Melbourne, 1919. Squizzy's Richmond gang joins forces with Snowy's Fitzroy gang to snatch nearly £1,500 worth of diamond rings from a Collins Street jeweller. But evil is as evil does. And before you know it, they're arguing over the split of the proceeds. And the Richmond boys are accused of grassing on the Fitzroy lads to the cops. (1919) My Annus Spectaculus. Snowy, Squizzy and the two gangs were at each other's throats. Stabbings, beatings, shootings. What they got up to could have filled the front page from here to Christmas. Call me selfish, but it was a sad day when Snowy bailed north. Mind you, Melbourne's gain was Sydney's loss. Snowy didn't muck around up north. Standover work, pushing cocaine, sure. Murder? Well, let's just say when a nasty piece of work called Norm Broom caught a few slugs and departed this world, Snowy Cutmore wasn't a million miles away. Call me a cynic, but not long after, Snowy makes like a homing pigeon and heads back to Melbourne. If Snowy was a pigeon, Squizzy was an elephant. He never forgot. So when they both turn up at the Nags on the same day, all bets are off. Old wounds are ripped open and it's on for young and younger. A few days later, when whatever I'd backed in the last was still running, Squizzy and two unnamed thugs track Snowy down. He was in bed at his mum's house in Carlton with a nasty case of flu. Somehow that turned into a fatal dose of lead poisoning, courtesy of 5 bullets. And Squizzy? Well, he went on to live a rich, full and happy life for about an hour. After Snowy's untimely death, Squizzy flagged a cab and headed for St Vincent's Hospital, with good reason. It seems Snowy Cutmore's lead poisoning was contagious. When Squizzy checked out of the hospital, it was in a wooden box. Strictly off the record, the cops couldn't have been happier. For years, they'd been trying and failing to nail Squizzy Taylor. Now he was gone, and Snowy Cutmore too. Win-win, right? Wrong. The cops had too many questions and not enough answers. Who were the two men with Squizzy? Was one of them the man who put him in a cab and then disappeared halfway to the hospital? And why did police find a gun stashed in the toilet cistern out the back of the Carlton house and another lying in a nearby laneway? Was there another gunman involved? Did Snowy's mum shoot Squizzy? Was it an Underworld power play? Did a prominent businessman take out a contract? Was one of the unnamed men the shooter? Everyone had an opinion. You know what they say about opinions. Do you want to know what I think? I think it made for a great story. And in my game, that's all that matters. I've met a few crims in my time. Some you wouldn't want to be in the same city with them. Others? Well, they're just lovable rogues. Trying to get by. Making the best out of the little they've been given. Take Eddie Ben here. Life had given her just two talents. She could run like a hare and break and enter with the best of them. Yep, Eddie and Trouble were never far apart. Infamy came early to Ethel Violet Ben. March 16, 1911. She was 16 when a couple of Cowra cops nicked her for stealing. One minute she was in the lockup, the next minute she was out the back door, running for her life. A crowd of people took up the chase. Not much to do in Cowra back then, I guess. But they had no hope. Eddie ran, and they were eating her dust. They caught her next morning a couple of towns away. But from that day, Eddie Ben never stopped running. I first met her in 1921. I was a hungry young court reporter in Sydney, and Eddie was a familiar face on the docks of Sydney's Central Court. Same story every time. She'd climb a drain pipe, 2, 3, 4 stories high, see whatever window was open, pull a job, outrun the cops, then go to ground. Sooner or later though, that itch needed scratching again. She'd turn up in one of her old haunts, Plod would pick her up, and she'd be back in front of the beak, more often than not with kids in tow. Eddie had 6 little attackers that we knew of, and a better defence team I've never seen. Come sentencing time, they'd wail and moan, hoping the judge would take pity on their poor, downtrodden mum. Court rounds could be pretty tedious, but when Eddie and her kids were putting on a show, well, you could have sold tickets. Of course, Eddie's kids were no strangers to crime and punishment. 3 of them were born in jail, and one of them even escaped with her. I say escaped. She was pregnant when she scaled the prison walls and tried to jump to safety. The kid survived, but her leg didn't. I reckon the first thing that kid saw when it came into the world was Eddie's leg in plaster. The second thing was probably a bunch of guards. That was one time Eddie wasn't running anywhere. The law has a name for people like Eddie. habitual criminal. They get harsher sentences, and the cops wanted Eddie to be the first woman to earn that dubious badge. Hey, she had a criminal record so long it took 10 minutes to read it out. But no, the court rejected the application, and Eddie's one chance at fame, legal fame, was gone. Oh, the glamour of the mask and jimmies increased 100-fold when it is a woman who uses them. A mate of mine who worked for The Truth wrote that about Eddie. Sure, it sells newspapers. But the truth is, there was nothing glamorous about Eddie's life. Another time, another place, she could have been a star athlete or a famous daredevil or a diva on the silver screen. But Ethel Violet Ben, Eddie, is just another name in a folder, in an anonymous drawer. A petty crim who's fast, fearless and clever, but a petty crim nonetheless. Six down. Secret Criminal Society. Starts with C, 7 letters. C-A-M-O-R-R-A. Kimura. You've heard of the Kimura, haven't you? AKA the Black Hand. Sometimes called the Mafia. Mafia. I know what you're thinking. Big in Italy, but nothing to do with Sydney, right? Wrong. At least that's what the cops will tell you. Of course, unsolved murder doesn't sit well with the homicide boys. To this day, no one knows who put the hit on Domenico Belli back in 1930. Who was Domenico Belli? Well, that depends on who you talk to. According to his few amigos, he had a quiet, genial disposition and spent his days cleaning fish at the markets or stacking shelves in Italian fruit shops. Ask the cops and they'd tell you he was mafia to his bones. So ruthless, he even ordered the murder of a close friend's brother-in-law in Italy. Yep, the cops believed Belli and 2 of his close associates, Giuseppe Mamone and Filippo Pignataro, were the ruling triumvirate of the Black Hand Society, an unholy alliance which ran sly grog, insurance fraud, arson, blackmail, prostitution and cocaine. Whatever it took to make a quid. And my pound to your peanut says they made plenty. Secret societies work very hard to keep them just that, secret. But that wall started to crumble on February 11, 1930, the day Domenico Belli bought a one-way ticket to the hereafter. Here's what we do know about that day. 2 men walked through the turnstile at Newtown Station. Moments later, one of them slumped to the ground, which had a lot to do with a 7-inch knife buried in his chest. Within seconds, Domenico Belli was a dead man, and the other guy, presumably the killer, was gone. What police don't know, what nobody knows, is who the other guy was, why ballet was hit, and who, if anyone, ordered it. Straight away, the local Italian community goes silenzioso, which didn't give the homicide boys much to work with. But they're nothing if not dogged. And eventually they came up with two likely suspects. He's the kicker. They were ballet's fellow Black Hand boys, Giuseppe Mamone and Filippo Pignataro. The first theory had ballet marked after he went to the races and blew 60 quid intended to bail Pignataro out on sly grog and illegal gun charges. Nothing like a jail stretch to fan the fires of vengeance. The second centred on an alleged insurance scam, with Mamone paying ballet to torch his barbershop. When the insurance company knocked it on the head, Mamone refused to pay ballet for the job, and that sparked a deadly vendetta. The trouble is, they were never more than theories. Theories are like lowercase letters. They don't start sentences. The cops couldn't take it to court, and they had loose ends everywhere. A mysterious killer. Two suspects, but no proof. And a mafia ring had probably been making merry for years, right under their law-abiding noses. The New South Wales coroner said at the time, and I quote, "If action is taken, we may have this fair country of ours rid of this society." Mind you, he also later wondered if the then leader of the Italian government, one Benito Mussolini, might be interested in doing his bit to wipe them out. The mystery man has never been identified, and the murder of Domenico Ballet has never been solved. Which means someone must have listened to Giuseppe Mamone when he was planning a hit. Act as wise men do. Be careful, silent, and fearless.